Nama Nuraini. And you.
Think about having the detailed map. The people.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Vanakkam. So I think we have around 26 participants now. So we can begin with the session. So my name is Yogindran and I'm representative of Omtera Academic, who organizer for today's section. And I'd like to welcome and thank you each and everyone for joining today's section. So today's title would be Communicate with Confidence. And here I would like to invite and introduce our trainer, Mr. Jayaraman Srinivasagam, who trained more than 78,000 people in 9 countries over the last 25 years. He also master trainer for HRDF Train to Trainer course. He presented at International Brain Research Organization and various other conferences. Mr. Jayaraman also winner of numerous speech and humor contests. With all of this, we believe Mr. Jayaraman is a very good candidate and a very wonderful trainer to deliver the Communicate with Confidence section. With all this, I would like to give the platform to Mr. Jayaraman.
Thanks, Yogan.
Thank you.
And welcome everybody.
You,
yeah, sure. Welcome everyone to today's session. Okay, before I start, I want to ask you all a question. I want you to raise your hands, but in this case, you may not raise your hands, I can't see you. I want you to type in the chat box if you would like to become an amazing communicator. Put in the chat box, please. You can see my slides, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Put in a yes if you like to. Right, I can see a lot of you. Shantini, Vasandan, Tiaga, Hari Prasad. I think I know you, right? Jivian, Sharimila, Thiru, and okay, Vidya, and quite a lot of you. Right, great, wonderful. That's what today's session is all about. I'm going to help you guys to understand how to communicate confidently without having too much of difficulty. And I'm sure the reason you all are here is because you understand the importance of communication skills, how to be able to present yourself in any situation. Because do you agree that communication is the #1 skill any human being can master? If you think yes, just put in 1. #1. If you think that communication skill is not one of, it is the most important skill. And I didn't say this. You know who said this? Anybody familiar with Dr. Stephen Covey, the guy who wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? He said the #1 skill anyone can master is communication skills. That means how you get along with people, how do you speak effectively, how do you get your point across in the most clear way so that there is no miscommunication. In fact, do you know that a lot of relationship problems come because of miscommunication? Do you agree with that? Because people get the wrong message, people get misunderstood, all kinds of things happen, and that can lead to a lot of problems, not just in the home, it can be in the workplace, it can even be on a national basis. Two leaders speaking, one getting the wrong message. I don't know, the way they communicate. Sometimes it's really mind-boggling. So anyway, so today's session is about that. And how many of you here feel that you are already quite a good communicator? Anybody here? Put in a me if you think, I already communicate well. Anyone? Not many of you. I don't see any answers. So that means you're saying that you're coming here because you want to learn the skills. Now, okay, let me just start by sharing my slide. You can see my slide, right?
Yes.
So the question is, why do you need to communicate with confidence? Because you see, whether you are selling, whether you are teaching, whether you're doing you're communicating with your spouse, whether you're communicating with your kids, communication skills is essential. And if you can do that, it can be fantastic. Has anybody here been through such a situation? You've been asked to give a presentation and you stand there literally shivering. You don't know what to say. I'm tongue-tied. Oh my God. Have you ever experienced this? Put in a me if you have this situation before. Saravanan, maybe. Okay. Anyone else? Come on. Uvendran says yes. Vidya says, okay, me, and Thiaga says me. Okay. Normala says, Palani says, tell you something. I have been there as well. Do you know what? I was probably the shyest person you could have met if you had seen me during my college days. Would you believe that? That I would never raise my hand. In fact, you know what? I had a terrible disease. You know what's the disease that I used to have? It's called the you-go disease. I'm putting in the chat box here. It's called the you-go disease. You know what's the you-go disease? This is when your class teacher or lecturer asks for a volunteer, and you look at a boy or girl next to you and say, you go now. That is called the you-go disease. And I had that. How many of you had this kind of feeling before, that you just don't want to raise your hands in class, even if no the answer, you'll never put your hands up, and you can say you are a very introverted person, shy, low self-confidence, low self-esteem. How many of you had been there before? Can I see a show of hands? Anybody? You can put you can. Okay. Right. So I can see Vidya and Thiaga and Kabi. Now this thing is very prevalent. Everybody, I don't say everybody, some people may not have this, but I was terrible. I was, and the reason is because I had a teacher in standard 6 who called me a mumbling idiot. Now, because he called me a mumbling idiot, and I began to believe that became a reality in my life, because you know what you believe becomes true. So for me, it was that I was a mumbling idiot until I was in college, and I happened to read a book called See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar, and that totally changed the trajectory of my life. That means, you know, my whole direction of my life changed. And today, as Yogan said, would you believe me that I have been to 9 countries, including Malaysia is 9, so it's 8 countries outside of Malaysia. And my largest audience was 1,300 people. And I have spoken online. The largest crowd was Dubai, 730 over people. And how did all this happen? From somebody who was a nervous wreck, totally shy, unbelievably low confidence, and today people pay me to hear me speak. Isn't it wonderful? And how did that happen? By magic? Really? Do you think one day I got up, being a shy person that I was, and got up and said, yeah, now onwards, I'm going to be a great speaker? You know, ladies and gentlemen, miracles like that doesn't happen in real life. But if I'm able to speak well or even present in front of big audiences, I think that's a miracle. But a miracle that takes time, not overnight. So I want to share with you people how that worked. Do you think if you were to take an average person and pass them a microphone, say, excuse me, can you come and say a few words about yourself? Or about your work? Or anything? Or even for politics, which almost anybody is an expert on. But you know what? They can talk till the cows come home, to their drinking buddies, in restaurants, to friends. But the minute you give them a microphone, no way, not me. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to feel that way. You know why? Because you can speak like a champion. You know that? And it is possible. It's just a matter of training. See, speaking in public, speaking confidently, communicating well are all skills. They are not something we are born with. I used to think that, really, you know what? When I was young, I used to look at people and look at especially people who speak well. And I used to think, oh my God, these people have a God-given talent, isn't it? How is it that they can speak so well? How come they can motivate people? How come they can move people to action? And I never in my wildest dream think I would be able to do that. And today, this is all I do for a living. I speak for a living. Of course, many of you may not want to speak for a living. It's okay. But the point is, whether you want to speak for a living or you want to speak for anything, for a relationship, whatever it is, it can be done. Now, before that, I want to ask you all a question. Do answer this in the chat box. In fact, I'd love to see you guys have your camera on. I see many of you have your cameras off. Do show your faces. Don't worry about it. At least I will feel as if I'm talking to. I know I'm talking to real persons, but I know that. Okay, I see your face. I see I'm talking to you face to face. Of course, sometimes it may not be convenient for you to on the camera, but if it is convenient, do on your cameras. The point I want to ask you is this: how do you think in your life having good communication skills can help you to be better? Maybe you can make more money, I don't know. Maybe you can sell better. Maybe you feel your relationship can be improved. Maybe you feel that in your job, you can get along with your colleagues better. I don't know. Please put in the chat box. How can that help you? Please put in, come on. Come on, please, go on. Oh, now I see GVN here. Okay, right. So at least some of you are on your cameras there. That's good. Okay, you guys can also unmute yourself and tell me if you're malas to type, Some people say, I malas. Okay, never mind. Tell us how it can help you. How can good communications help you? Communication skills help you. GVN, I'm trying to say something, but you're muted.
Isn't it?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
How good means what was the question, sir?
The question I'm asking, how can good communication skills impact your life? What can it do for you? You see, if you're a salesperson, it's obvious, right?
Yes.
I can close more sales.
True.
I don't know what your situation is, but how can that help you in your life? It's not necessarily sales, right?
In some kind of decision making, so we can influence some thought by our communication.
Definitely. So now, do you agree that all of you, do you agree? Come on, the rest of you do take part, okay, guys? Allows me to speak concisely and with clarity. Thanks, Shantini. Thanks for that. Normala says, can engage with my audience. Fantastic, definitely. Get connected to everyone, absolutely. Yeah, it's very good in relationship building, isn't it? Because now, would you all agree, ladies and gentlemen, that all of us in some way are salespeople? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, Thiru says build trust, definitely build trust. Do you know people who speak well are considered more intelligent? Whether they are or not, it's a different matter. I don't know if I'm more intelligent than anybody else. But people who come up to me, I had one young man, he's a young boy, he was 15 years old, from Dubai. He came to Malaysia to attend one of my seminars. And guess what he said at the end? He said, Mr. Jaya is one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And one boy in India, a young boy, of course, I was speaking in Andaman, if you know Andaman in India, and he attended one of my student programs. And guess what he said? In his evaluation form, I can never forget this. Sir, you are God. I'm God. I don't want to have that position. I think somebody's already taken the position, right? We can have two gods in the world, right? Okay, so Tiaga says, I'm heading a supply chain team in which I have to communicate to all levels of people. Hence, I need powerful communication tools in my daily. Absolutely, yes, great. We can create perception, yes, helps to deliver. Lavanya says, help to deliver what exactly I want the other person to understand. Absolutely, yeah, you people have got that right. So, in other words, we are all in a sales situation, whether you're selling your idea, selling a product, selling a service, trying to convince someone to our way of thinking, talking about religion, talking about God. Do you know even a pastor is a salesperson, isn't it? Am I right? He's trying to sell you on the idea of God. He's trying to sell you, he'll tell you you look at verse, John verse 25-15. God said this. And why is he saying that? Is it just because he's having fun saying? Because he's trying to give a message to you, right? And that is done only by communicating well. If he is like, let's say the pastor is very afraid. Actually, in John verse 25, excuse me, I can't really speak well. But anyway, you all turn to this Bible. I don't think he's going to convince anybody. Would you see that? How do you see pastors speaking? They're like, God says, follow me and I will save you. They speak with such conviction. Am I right? That's the kind of speaking that gets results. Would you agree with that? And how many of you would like to be that kind of a speaker where I speak like that? Anytime, anyway, call me. If you like to, welcome to today's session. Do you believe this? You guys might know this, Barack Obama, taken when he's a bit young. Okay. The quality of your life depends on the quality of what? That's what today's session is about. Your communication. It's how well you communicate. And ladies and gentlemen, do you know we communicate with not just the outside people, we communicate with ourselves. The quality of a communication to yourself also matters. Like for example, let's say you are overweight. There are two things you can ask. You see, the quality of your communication can depend on the kind of questions you ask. Like for example, if you ask yourself, why am I like a pig? Your brain will say, because you're a pig. But if you say, how can I lose weight and still enjoy the process? Your brain will give you the right answers. Does it make sense? So just like, yes, Arun, yeah, absolutely. Others will have more confidence if we can communicate. Oh, absolutely. If I may say, Yogin is right now, he's halfway through one of my programs. And of course, I'm pleasantly surprised when he asked me wanted to organize this. So, and the only reason I'm sure he organized because he had confidence in me. If I put Jaya on the screen, he will not screw it up. Yeah, yes, Yogin, huh? Your confidence in me, right?
Yes.
Even bothered to organize this, right? If you are like thinking, I wonder what this guy is going to do. Is he going to do a good job or is he going to really do a bad job? My company's name is on the line.
I had a confidence on you.
God bless you. Okay, thanks. All right. Speaking success strategy, I'm going to share with you all some strategies you can use. Okay. Remember this, ladies and gentlemen. You know why we all feel afraid of speaking in public? One thing I've learned is because, you know why? We focus more on ourselves than the audience and what we are going to deliver to them. Does it make sense? Because if you are so concerned about What are they going to think of me? Am I dressed well? Do I look well? My I don't know. Is my hair? Am I too fat? Am I too thin? Am I going to make a fool of myself? Am I going to forget this? Oh my God! Is my PowerPoint nice? If you worry too much about that, let me tell you, you are going to stammer. You're going to stutter. You're going to forget your lines. Do you know when you're stressed, you can make all kinds of mistakes? Would you agree with that? You know when you're relaxed? We are best when we are relaxed. And it is not just psychological thing, religion. It's actually a physical thing. Because it's to do with your dendrites. You know how your brain cells, maybe you heard of, we got brain cells called neurons. They have got branches coming out like the branches of a tree. You got each of your neuron. By the way, I teach this as a subject, so I know this very well. Each of your 100 billion neurons that you have, not 100 million, 100 billion neurons you have, has got 10 to 20,000 other branches coming out. And you know what? When you are relaxed, they all open up. And when you are nervous, they become kachut. This is how they behave. That is why when you're nervous, you make wrong decisions. That's why you say the wrong thing. That's why you stand up there and you begin to stammer. I don't know what to say. So all remember, it's not about you. It's about the audience. And if you keep that in your mind, you know what? Audience, your confidence will automatically grow. So, but ask yourself this. Why would people want to listen to you? They must have a good reason, right? So the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, when you want to present, make sure you prepare absolutely well, the best that you can be. Don't do a chin-chai job. They say, well, they wanted me to talk. Well, no. Ask yourself, people are giving you their precious time. Whether they pay you money or not, of course, I get paid if I speak, but there are times when I do for free. Today, I'm doing it for free, right? So there are times when people might come and listen to you for free, but still, people are giving you their attention and time. Do you know today, ladies and gentlemen, these are the most precious thing anyone can give you? Put in a yes if you agree with me. The most precious thing anybody can give us today is their time and their attention. So Jivian is a yes, absolutely. What do you think Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the social media which are giving you for so-called free, why do you think they're doing that? You think it's stupid? I give you free. Free, like you people came through social media, right? Why would these fellas like Mark Zuckerberg and well, they are so nice-hearted people, lovely people. God bless them, really. Because they are getting your most precious thing, which is your attention, ladies and gentlemen. Would you agree with that? Because your attention, you are giving, they have your database, they can also see what you buy, your preferences and all of that. And they get your demographics, everything about you. They get information. Data today is, what do you mean? Data means what? Data means your attention. They can grab your attention. They might give you the right kind of advertisements. They will feel, okay, let's say, Jivian, you have been watching, let's say, something related to furniture. So you see all the furniture advertisements will come to you.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Let's say you go and do a search in Facebook and somebody advertise about how to make money online. You click that. Finish lah. From there,
yeah.
Because they get your attention. See, they are looking where your attention goes. Do you agree?
Yes.
It's very precious today. So people are giving you attention. So don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. Give them the best. You know what you should do? You should always have this. Your audience should feel captivated. You know what I mean by captivated? Let me just share with you. See if I can show the link to your. Okay. Okay, I'm going to show you all a short video of me doing a presentation. You just watch. Oh, wait a minute. I think y'all can't hear the sound, right? Let me share the sound as well. Where is this? Give me a minute. Let me share sound as well. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you all the video one more time. So hopefully you can see hopefully you can hear the sound now.
Big hands. Yeah, again. Maybe not.
I'm going to move a little bit.
Really, thank you for
No video.
I said, Jackie Chan, you are my master.
No video, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
very good. Follow.
Sorry. Can you else hear now? Can you see the video now? Okay, I'm going to take this back a little bit so you can watch.
And he told me, you cannot do this, you must say,
Okay, okay, back to my PowerPoint. Okay, what do you think the people there are feeling when I was doing that small exercise? There were 1,000 people sitting in the audience. Did you see that I got their attention? You saw that? And I didn't ask them to clap. They applauded. Why didn't they clap? Because I got their attention. Would you agree with that? And even those kids who are like those are all college, university students, even those who are on the phone, they stopped and then they started clapping. They say, that's what good communication is. Are you able to do that confidently? You see, the thing is that your audience should be captivated, not captive. Now, there's just one alphabet missing, but do you know there's a whole world of difference? Would you agree with that? Isn't it? You know what's the difference, right? What's the difference between captive and captivated? Captive are people, just like, they are like prisoners. They're sitting there, they say, oh my God, why this? That's captivated. And a captive. Captivated means like, I love this. I'm learning something new. This is what I want. This is going to change my life. Okay, maybe you cannot change people, but at least they say, oh, I learned something new today. I can go and apply this. It's going to help me in my life in a small way or a big way. It may. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, you never know whose life you can change. If I may say, I have actually changed many, many lives. I'll give you one example. My students program, which I've been doing for the last 24 years now. 13 years ago, one student came for my program, and after attending my program, within 6 months, you know what he did? He cut his revision time from 3 hours to 20 minutes. And by the way, this testimony is on YouTube. You can go and watch it. You're going to have seen that video, right? No? You saw that, okay. Joel Lee is his name. And not only that, he became number 1 in class. Can you imagine? He used to study for 3 hours, still not number 1. Now he's studying for 20 minutes, he's number 1. And he got a scholarship worth 250,000 ringgit because of his ability to study well, to study in Australia. And he called me and said, sir, what can I do for you, sir, in return? I said, what do you do for me for what? She said, no, because, my life changed and my results changed. I said, never mind. I'm so happy for you. But he said, can I do something? I said, okay, can you do a testimonial for me? Give me a testimonial. So that's what. do you know something? You can transform people's lives with words. Do you agree with that? Yeah. So the thing is, whenever you speak, there must be some kind of excitement in your voice. If you choose a subject, make sure you choose a subject for which you have a passion for. Don't speak on something that you like, I don't really care about it. But anyway, you need to speak, so I speak. No. So be very careful about the topic you choose, because you know something, when you are excited, they will be excited. And if you go and say, okay, let me just talk about anything, I know about everything, I can talk about politics, I can talk about religion, I can talk about weather, no, don't talk like that. Because when you are excited, you know what? Your audience will be. Yes? So very important, choose a topic, prepare well, then speak. And you might have an audience like this one day. How would that be? Would you like it to have an audience who are screaming for you as if you're Michael Jackson or some celebrity or Rajinikanth coming on the stage? Or now Vijay, okay, what's it? Rajinikanth, okay, already, you say whole school already. Or Vijay comes on the stage. Or Vijay Sethupathi for that matter comes on stage. And people go berserk, say, they start screaming. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to be a celebrity to get engagement from people. All right. Okay, anything in particular you want to ask me? Okay, y'all, tell me what you have gained so far. I want to just ask you all something. Anyone you want to do ask your questions. Don't worry about it. You can ask me any questions you have. No problem. Okay, what have you all gained from this session so far? Are you learning something, ladies and gentlemen? Whatever I'm sharing with you? Are you getting some ideas on how to communicate, whether it's one-to-one or whether it's a group of people? Okay, of course, I'm talking more about speaking to groups, right? Okay. Let me share this with you. A strong start is crucial. What do you mean by a strong start is crucial? Have you said in a presentation where someone comes on the stage and he says, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everybody. My name is Jaya, and I'm here to talk to you people about communication skills. I've been in this line for 20 years, and thank you for coming. I'm so excited to be here. Have you heard this before? This kind of opening? Put in a yes if you have. Have you? Legend, have you? More importantly, how did you feel when you had such, I would say, this called I call it a mama fufu opening. You know some mama fufu opening? Like tofu. There's no oomph there. How do you feel when somebody comes and say things like this? Hi, I am so happy to be here. It doesn't reflect in their voice, you know. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to come and meet all of you all here. Thank you for inviting me. Does it make you excited? Or does it make you feel like, oh my God, don't tell me this is going to present for the next one day or next half a day or even next half an hour. Oh God, that can happen. And have you ever had this? Anybody comes on the stage and they say, how are you all doing today? Do you think that's a good thing to say? Not bad, right? How are you doing today? Huh? Should be okay, what? People say, how are you? Right? Well, let me tell you, ladies, all these kind of openings are not good, because if you want to do a presentation to anybody, if you open with an insincere way, asking people, how are you? Especially to strangers, you don't even know who they are. You say, how are you? Don't you think that sounds insincere? Put in a yes if you agree with that. When someone comes, like just somebody walk up to somebody on the street and say, hey, how are you doing? Like, who the hell are you? Is it not? Okay, Sarana, you agree with that, right? So it's true. So don't ever do that. It's not a good way to open because that doesn't. And the worst thing is, the worst opening, in my opinion, the worst, the very worst is they come onto the stage and say, "Good morning, everybody," and then let's say only half of the crowd, they didn't even expect the good morning. We just had, there's so many things on their mind. Oh, my kids. Oh, my breakfast. I haven't had my breakfast. What shall I have? Maybe have a burger afterwards. All these things going through their mind. Somebody comes and say, "Good morning." And somebody already said good morning. And you know what they will say? "Hey guys, I'm sure you can do better than that. Don't you have energy? Let's try that one more time. Good morning." And they say, and now slightly louder. And I say, "I'm sure you can do better. Then come on, let's one more time. Good morning." And you're like, "Okay lah, you shout good morning." So at least the fellow will stop doing this nonsense. Now let me ask you, you have done that. So, I'm going to come to that. I'm going to come to that definitely. There's no such thing as a best opening. I actually teach various kinds of openings. Normala, I will share with you one opening, which is something I use very often, but there are also different kinds of openings. Let me share this with you. I've experimented with many kinds of openings, and I'm going to share with you all one of it. Okay, let me tell you what. So, who wants to try on your own to tell me what do you think what should a good opening have? Before I tell you my way of opening, what do you think? What do you think when you listen to an opening like this? You say, "That's fantastic." You can compare an opening to a movie. When you watch a movie, some movies, do you know, they start with a bang? Yes or no? Have you sat through a movie that's like, the minute you are there, and just like going to a webinar or a seminar, people in a cinema theater also are having 1,000 things going through their minds. And then the opening comes and grabs them by the collars, literally, like how? Let me give you an example. If you watch a James Bond movie, have you seen a James Bond movie that starts slow, like two people having coffee in a coffee shop, chit-chatting? Do you see that happening? You don't believe, go and check it. They will never start a James Bond movie that way. Maybe other movies might start that way. Maybe a love story, yeah. But never James Bond. James Bond will always start with maybe a helicopter flying, and then suddenly shooting, and people running down to hide, and then one fella from somewhere takes a bazooka, boom, hits the propeller of the helicopter, and the helicopter comes and crashes. I mean, if that kind of opening, even if you are half awake, you're like, "What happened? Who's that?" Am I right? Why do they do that? That's why James Bond movies are so popular, because the makers know how to get your, what's the word again? Starting in the A religion? Attention.
Sure.
Yes, they know how to get your attention from the beginning till the end. Another thing, of course, James Bond is a very stylish person, right? You see him, you don't see coming in like a nerd. James Bond coming and say, "What's your name?" "My name is James Bond." See him talking like that. He has style. He has, what's the word already? Suave. That's the word, yeah. He's got suave. He moves with, and the way he talks, the way he stands, the way he behaves, even the way he smokes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you know something? A presentation is like a movie. Of course, we may not reach that standard. I'm not saying you must change one movie, but okay. Now coming back to this, a strong start means don't say good morning, don't say hello, how are you people doing. And don't say, good morning, I can't hear you. Don't do all this. So now the question normal asks is, see, let's say you are going to touch on, okay, can anyone share with me a topic that you want to talk about? Let's use that as an example. Absolutely. Thought-provoking questions. Sarah, yes, of course. Sarah should know. Sarah is a professional MC. Yeah. So, guys, what is it that you are going to talk about or you have spoken about? Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say you're going to talk about financial planning. Let's say you're from the insurance industry or the investment industry or anything. You're into investments. You're teaching people property investment on, and you want to grab people's attention. If you go and say, ladies and gentlemen, hi, my name is Yogan. I am going to talk about financial planning. Nothing wrong with that, but it is very, not really, no But Yogan will come and say, raise your hands if you like to become a millionaire in the next 5 years. And then he pauses for 5 seconds. And most of the hands are up. Raise your hands and say, I, if you like to become a millionaire in the next 5 years without earning a single cent extra. Now let me ask you, if you're in that audience, would you not put your hands up and say, I? Yes or no? Now what has Yogan just done? He has got your attention. Even if you're half days, you're like, huh? What? 5 years, 1 million? Is that what he said? Is that, yeah. I want, man, I. Whew. Then Yogan goes on to say, in the last 10 years, I have produced 47 millionaires, or whatever the number is, in less than 5 years, using a proven system. And those people did not earn extra after that. All they did was apply my system. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Yogan, and thank you for coming. And let me share this with you, that I have written 3 books on financial planning, and I've been to 15 countries, and I've been teaching this system, which has been proven to work, regardless of who you are. And that's what I'm here to share with you. Interested in learning? Let's get going. Now, let me ask you, if you had such an opening, put in the chat box, or you want to unmute yourself, also can, I'll prefer that. Tell me, how would that make you feel? Would that make you feel excited? Put in a yes. Would that grab your attention? Would it make you say, at least mentally, me too, me too, me too. Yes, yes, yes. Come on. Anybody?
Yes.
Or are you going to say, oh, really? Millionaire, 5 years. Really? Of course, let's say you came for a financial planning talk, and that's what the speaker said. Uven didn't say probably yes or surely yes. I mean, you're coming here to learn to make money, and this fella is telling you, you're not an ordinary audience. You're not like somebody from the street coming and sitting here, you know. You are here to learn how to, because the whole program is about how to make more money in your investment. And this guy comes and says, raise your hands if you like to become a millionaire in the next 5 years. When is it probably a yes or a yes? Of course. Of course, then it's up to Yogan to prove the point, right? You know, but at least he's got the attention. But do you agree, ladies and gentlemen, the opening of a speech is, if you ask me, the most crucial part. If you screw up on that, you can forget about it. If, let's say, people lose their attention, let's say, you say, good morning. Hey, how come I didn't hear good morning? People, you see, do you know something? If you're a salesperson, remember this. Happy people buy. Would you agree with that? If you upset them by asking stupid question, why your good morning not so good? You just upset them, you know. From then on, they're gonna shut their mind. Idiot, like this fellow. Me, I may not think idiot, but the point is, you made me feel bad. What, you're trying to challenge me, huh? How loud my voice is. So don't do that. Okay, next one. Okay, Noor said, SG Normala said online education. Can you please elaborate a bit on what online education you're talking about? Normala, can you unmute yourself? Can you talk to us?
Yes, sir. Okay, just now because you asked the audience that.
I know. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So
I
yes.
Sure.
Okay. Yes. What you want me to say about it?
No.
Sir?
Tell me. I mean, I say online education.
Okay.
Can you?
Because you say any topic, so I say why not we talk about online education, because now
I understand. Yeah, okay,
actually
go ahead.
now you're talking about online education, right? So
Yeah.
when you're opening, how you're going to open, like today, you know, you're talking about online education.
So online education can be a very wide topic. Do you want? Who's your audience, by the way?
Educators, academia.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So you want to teach them what is the outcome you want them to have?
It's just a sharing platform of what you call how to use the online education, the implication of online application, the impact, you know, because of the COVID.
So are you going to teach them how to use online tools? Is that what it is?
No, I'm not going to. I'm just sharing a story about it. That's all.
Oh,
No,
okay.
sir, I don't know, because you told me I want a topic, so anyone can.
No. The point is no. Sorry, no. Please don't think anything. No, the point is that because you see, every time when we do a presentation, there must be an formula, at least. There must be an end goal in mind. Not so much for you, but for them. What they are either going. You see, there are three things that you want. You remember these. When you do a presentation, three outcomes. You either want them to know something, you want them to feel something, or you want them to do something. But if you ask me, an ideal presentation is one that can make people do all three. Make them know something, make them feel something, and then they do something. But are you with me?
Yes.
Right. So you can say, raise your hands if by the end of the session, you will be able to, or just say, raise your hands if you like to understand what online education is all about. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes.
It can be as simple as that. But if you want them to be able to use certain tools, just you can say, raise your hands if you like to know how to use the latest online tools so that you can engage any kind of audience. You get what I'm saying? Or if you say you want to get education, let's say they are educators, you can say, raise your hands if you like to be able to use online tools and to make your teaching the most effective that it can be. Your online teaching, right? Online teaching to be most, you know what I'm saying? So
yes,
that only then you can tell them, I have been helping educators like you to use online tools to get the results they want. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Normala. And then you give them your credentials, and don't give a one-page credential. Another thing, let me share this with you. When you see people put then their title and their name on the slide, don't say welcome today on online education. As you can say, my name is Normala. No need. Don't start off that way. That's not a good way to start as well. Because people can see your title, people can see you, people can see your name on the slide. Then what for you want to repeat that? If you want to repeat, you want to say that, say it. Point number 3. So this is a 5-step process. You can take this down. Number 1, if you want to. Number 1 is ask an enrolling question. Enrolling questions. Raise your hands if you like to. Now people say, why must I use raise your hand? Because if you ask people to raise their hands, you're getting them connected with you. You see, you're making them. You can just ask, okay, how would you like to? Some people use the word, how would you like to? For me, I don't like that because I cannot see people's minds, what's on their mind. And I say, raise your hand, that means I can see people are interacting with me. If you don't raise your hand, it's fine, but at least most of them will raise their hands. If you ask her, eat, and make the question simple, straight to the point, don't complicate it. You got it? Simple, straight, and it must be a yes answer. Don't say, raise your hands if you don't want to become a bankrupt. Oh, yes, I don't need bankrupt. Shall I put my hand up? Or maybe I'm a bankrupt, but if I talk about financial planning. Right? And don't go and ask online education. Don't say, how many of you here are terrible at online education? Yes, I am. But some people shy to say, I'm terrible, but would I put my hands up? So ask a positive question. That means the answer of your question should. So number 1, ask an enrolling question. Number 2, you get them to, you tell them a little bit of the results you've got, not the whole thing. What have you produced in the past? Because people want to know, you want to tell me, who are you? What have you done in the past? So just tell them briefly a result you have produced. Then only say, then greet them. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Then introduce yourself. I am so and so. And welcome them. So that is, so greet, welcome, finally give them your credentials. Why you? So you can limit the why you to 3 points. Like for example, when you notice Yogan introduced me, she said, I've trained more than 78,000 people. I've been to 9 countries. I have won speech competitions. Enough. He doesn't have to go and say how many A's or B's I got from my SPM. Not necessary. People don't come, or how many dogs I keep in the house, or what's the name of my fish at home. No need. I hope that makes sense. Ladies and gentlemen, if you found this interesting, put in a yes. But how to open? You got it or not? Have you got the idea of how to open with a bang? And how not to open with the usual way that irritates people and make them lose interest. If they lose interest in you in the beginning, let me tell you, you're going to suffer trying to call them or bring them back. You say, oh, it's like, I say, the horse has bolted. You try to catch a horse that has run away. Okay, that's how we should start. Of course, there are many ways of doing it. They're just sharing you one of the ways. Okay, guys, I teach many different ways to open. There's even one more way, which is even more powerful than this. That will take a bit of time to teach out. But anyway, we are going to, Yogan is organizing a program soon. I think he'll tell you the details later. But in that, I will share with you all more than this. It's a very hands-on session, right? And then, but if people say, but what do I talk about? Very simple. Just keep these 3 things. Make sure it's very clear. Clear what you want the people to take back. Don't complicate it. By the end of my session, people should understand what is online education. Like in my case, I teach kids, right, how to pass exams. Like I told you about Joel Lee. So I will just say, my content will be about studying more effectively, how your memory works, how to do mind mapping, how to take notes, how to be more confident in exam. Those kind of things. My content will be just that. And it should not be complicated. It should not even be very difficult for people to understand. Step by step. Simplify it and don't use unnecessarily difficult vocabulary. Some people, I see, they go on the stage and suddenly their language changes. You know, don't do that. Don't try to use bombastic words. Don't. Simple. Simplicity is where the power is. Nowadays, you know, people write copywriting all simple. And progressive means start with the simple, very, very easy things, and people say, oh, I got that. Let me move to the next one, and the next one. And don't straight away come and give them something difficult to do. No. So this is what it is, okay, when you write content. Okay, then how to do research for content, I have more ideas on this, but just very quickly tell you, ask yourself the 5 questions, 6, the 1 husband and 5 wives. Remember what it is? Ask yourself the how, what, where, when, who, and why. And that can help you do. So simple, it should be clear. Simple like this plant here, okay, very simple. And of course, make it progressive, that's what we mean. Let me end with this, ladies and gentlemen. One last thing I want to leave you all with is this thing called stories. This is actually my favorite subject. I teach people how to tell stories. Do you believe that stories are the most powerful way to communicate with people? Put in a yes if you agree. Stories. And see, when you go for a movie, what are you watching? You're watching a story, right? When you're trying to motivate your child and telling them, you know, when I was young, I used to do that. And, you know, your grandpa used to be like this, and, you know, he used to advise me, and, you know what, I didn't believe him, and, you know, whatever it is, you're telling a story. Am I right? I told you a story just now about how I was a nervous wreck. So stories are powerful because I always say this, you know, facts tell, stories sell. It's as simple as that. What's that again? Facts tell, stories sell. When I say facts tell, for example, you show a pie chart. Let's say I am the CEO of a company. I say, oh, ladies and gentlemen, if you can see for the last 10 years, our growth has been, you know, this year was so much, and that was, we say, and then it dropped, and then now it's like that. Those are facts. Doesn't motivate people. People don't change. Because you see, our actions are always motivated by emotions, ladies and gentlemen. It's not by logic. Facts are just logic. Emotions is not logic. Emotions can move people. You get what I'm saying? So if you were to, whether you're a CEO of a company, whether you're trying to sell something, whether you sell a product, tell a story. That will be more powerful. I just give you an example. Let's say I'm selling insurance. If I come and tell, you know, let's say I'm representing AIA. I say, you know, AIA is better than Great Eastern. You know why? Because our medical card, our claim is like this. Our per day limit is so much. And then you know what? We also have this. We also have that. You also cover that. They don't cover that. That may or may not be a fact. People don't buy based on that. But if I were to tell a touching story of a mom who had a phone call and the daughter was admitted in hospital while coming back from school. And it may not be a real story, you know, you can even say, imagine, and you tell this story. You know what will happen? The people will sit down and listen to you. Okay, let me demonstrate that to you. Let's say I'm selling insurance, I don't do sell insurance, but let's say I'm selling insurance. And I want to come and tell this lady, and let's say she has 3 kids. And I tell her, Miss Mary, just imagine with me that there is this mom, and she gets a call one day, and she picks up and says, hello. And the voice on the other side says, Miss Mary? No, I said, no, use her name. I said, Miss Angeline? She said, yes. Anything? She said, is your daughter's name Sally? I said, yeah, a little bit concerned. Who's this? Well, I have some bad news for you. She said, What? She now begins to like panic. She said, well, what was the news about? She said, well, I'm calling from this hospital. And she says the name of the hospital. And now the mom is really shaking. And she says, what happened to Sally? She said, well, she had an accident actually. So I can't tell you anymore. Can you please come to the hospital? She said, I'm coming, but tell me, is my daughter all right? She said, yes, she's all right. She's all right. But we need to talk to you. Now this mom, Angeline, jumps into the car and she drives across town and breakneck speed. And she is trembling throughout the whole journey. And she beats some even traffic lights in the process. And she goes to the hospital. She doesn't even park the car properly, leaves the parks it in the lobby there, and she runs across and she goes to the reception and she asks, she said, I'm Angeline, my daughter Sally. Can you tell me where she is? So, oh, Sally, she's in the operation theater, madam. And she rushes to the operation theater, and someone comes out and says, yes, you must be Sally's mom. She says, yes. And she says, can you tell me what happened? And she's literally shivering. She says, okay, we rolled her in for an operation. I don't ask you one thing. Is she medically covered? Does she have a medical card on her? She say, oh, thank God. Yes, I do. I just got one for her last month. I don't know whether it covers. She said, no problem. Accident will be covered immediately. So no problem. She said, can I know the limit? She said about 200,000 or something like that. She said, no problem, madam. I tell you what, the operation won't come to so much, probably about 50 to 60,000. She should be fine in 1 month. She just has some fractures in her leg, and she has some internal bleeding. She should be all right, no problem. Just relax. And the doctor has said she is going to be perfectly fine. And if I told this story and I said to her, this prospect was sitting in front of me, and I said, can you just for a moment imagine if she had said no to the agent who came to her and told her about his medical insurance just a month ago? Think of the mom's emotions. How do you think she'll feel? Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you this. If you are the person I'm talking to and you're a lady, you have kids, would that move you, yes or no? Put in your answer if you think this story can move you. Yes? No? Someone say yes. Okay. Why is that? And I said, right, this is not even a true story. I said imagine. It doesn't have to be a true story. I just say imagine. If it's a true story, it's even more powerful. No, I don't get you. What do you mean?
Sir, when you talk about story, right, you say that we don't use fact, but we use story, to share about something, to attract them. But without fact, how people trust you, your content?
No, I'm not saying this or that. You see, the point is, most salespeople only tell facts. You cannot move people with facts, madam. Do you agree with that? See, can PowerPoint make someone cry? I tell you this. When you watch a movie, have you ever cried watching a movie?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Why? Because it's the story that made you cry, right? It is the emotions that are reflected by Angelina Jolie or whoever is acting like that, yes or no? And have you made a decision, and maybe let's say this is about a mom's love for her daughter or something of that sort. Did it at that moment make you think, oh my God, I had made the same mistake. I shall not make that mistake again. Did that make you feel that way? Yes or no?
Mm.
But if that movie, they showed some PowerPoints, the way to love your kids, or somebody come and gives you advice, would you change? You get my point?
Mm,
That's what I mean.
okay.
You
Because
cannot move. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
because when we do a presentation, usually we are presenting what you call, let's say if you're in the education, you have to use fact to, to create trust. Yeah. And then when you do sales also, of course, some number to let your boss know, yeah, I'm selling this much, but everything is by fact.
No, I'm not talking about telling your boss. I'm talking about talking to customers.
Huh.
You're not selling to your boss. Your boss, you're just giving him some figures to tell you. You want to know where you're doing it. Oh, how's your sales? Yeah, boss, this is what is. That is not selling. You're selling to your customers. Your customers would not, I mean, let's say won't buy on facts. Yes, if it's something that they already want and they need it and they're looking for you, they may buy. But it's something that you're trying to convince people to buy, and you just tell them the facts, they will say, you know what, at the end they'll say, let me think about it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a way of nice way of saying no to you.
Mm,
Would you agree?
yes, agree.
Do you know if you move them with stories? I have done this so many times in my sales line. I have been a salesperson all my life before I became a trainer. And anyway, as a trainer, I tell people I'm still a salesperson because on the stage, I'm selling you some ideas. Would you agree with that? I may or may not be selling you a seminar. Doesn't matter, but I'm still selling you some ideas.
Mm,
If I want to convince you to a different way of action. How do you think I transform people to change? And it happens not because of anything, and because they found some value in what I teach them, and because of the stories that I tell them. Do you know that the boy I told you from Dubai, his name is Julian, if I'm not mistaken. He's on YouTube, by the way. His testimonial. He said that I was so touched by Mr. J. He's a young boy, but he said I was so touched by Mr. J's stories about how he was bullied. I got bullied by two girls when I was in Form 6. I told that story. That boy was touched by it. He said, "Oh my God, you mean really?" Sure. Thanks, Dato. Yes. Okay. Emotional intelligence. Now we're saying, okay. Yeah. So no, I hope you do get the point, right? Sure. Anyone else you want to ask me? Please ask me. Don't worry about it. You don't agree with me, guys, but because we all have our own experiences. But let me share this with you. What I'm sharing with you is tested and proven in my life. I want to share with you all the 5 C's of storytelling. This is something that if you can, you don't have to use all 5 C's, but some of the things are very crucial. Okay. Let me tell you all a story of mine. Let's see how you feel. I said, when I was in standard 6, my class teacher, Mrs. Bodville, called me and said, "Come here, boy." I said, "Yes, teacher." She said, "Can you go to Mr. Ui and find out when is the history exam?" But you see, the minute she mentioned Mr. Ui's name, I began to tremble. Not because of anything, but you must know Mr. Ui was not just my history teacher, he was also my discipline master. And so shaken up, I still went and looked for him, and I found Mr. Ui teaching in standard 6A. I went into the class, literally nervous, very, very nervous. My heart was beating like crazy. And I looked at this man who was wearing shiny black boots, well-pressed pants, long sleeve white shirt, and I looked up to his bald head. And I said, his bald headed, and he said, "Yes." I said, "Mr. Ui, can you please tell me the words were not coming out of my mouth." I said, the history, the test, the date. I said, he got so angry and he shouted at me, "What are you talking about, you mumbling idiot?" The minute he said that, I felt, why doesn't the earth just open and close and kill me? Because those words, I knew I would never live through them. But you know what? Those words became like a ghost in my mind, haunting me for the next 6 to 7 years. And I became literally a mumbling idiot. I never put my hands up until in college, due to my lecturer seeing me say, "Why are you like this? Always never raise your hand." Say, I'm shy, sir. So what do you mean you're shy? He said, I was born this way, sir. I said, don't be an idiot, stupid. There's no such thing as being born like that. And he gave me a book called See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar. And he said, read that book and apply it and see whether it changes your life. And you know what the book said? If you're afraid to do something, just do it. He said, what, do the thing you fear and your fear will disappear. I said, oh my God. And he even summarized that into 3 words, action cures fear. I thought, okay. And remember, I never raised my hands in class. Now I forced myself to raise my hands in class. And I realized my fear was slowly eroding. Another thing he said was, stand in front of the mirror and repeat, I am a champion, every day 30 times. I said, I'm not a champion. But I thought, what the heck? So I thought it's in front of me. I said, I'm a champion, 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 I'm a champion. He said, say it in emotion, I'm a champion. And you know what? After a month, I saw my own confidence growing and changing. No, of course, you become a total confident person. Another thing he said was, learn to communicate well. Join a public speaking club, which I joined Toastmasters for 12 years. I was there for 12 years. You know what? My confidence grew and grew and grew and grew. And I became a changed person. That's what happened. Why? Because I took the steps. And I was in 1998, I took part in a competition called the Articulate Speech Contest, where I was competing against 8 people. And the Chief Minister of Penang was there. And guess who won the competition? And when I was walking onto the stage to collect my trophy, Tan Sri Kosukun at the time, Chief Minister of Penang, shook my hands and said, you know why you won? I said, don't know, Tan Sri. He said, because you spoke with emotions. I said, thank you, sir. And you know what? At that moment, something went through my mind. Mr. Uy, you're wrong. I'm not a mumbling idiot anymore. And that moment, my life changed. And I said, I can stand in front of anybody and speak. Ladies and gentlemen, question to you is, what is it that you hold in your mind that you want to do, but you love to do? Maybe it could be climbing a mountain, could be writing a book, could be starting a business, could be doing anything, could be starting a family. But you have certain fears that hold you back. But remember these 3 words, ladies and gentlemen, which I have applied as my mantra in life, which is action cures fear. And you never know how far you can go just by taking the step forward. Now, that is a story, that's a true story, by the way. That's not made up story. That's not an imagination story. Mr. Wei and all the people whom I mentioned, all the characters were real. I ask you this, the story that I just spoke to you, or which I shared with you, has got all these 5 elements or the 5 C's of storytelling. But before I ask you, how do you find my story? I have taken out certain things because that's a lot of details are taken out, but to make it short. But isn't that inspiring? Put in a yes if you think that my story is inspiring. If I were to tell that story, and let's say I'm going to teach people how to be confident, do you think people are going to listen to me? If I tell people, look, I was a mumbling idiot. Today I stand in front of you and I'm speaking. And I'm going to show you how I did that, how the transformation took place, the steps I took, and how that happened. Would you like me to teach you this? Should people listen? But if I say, I am a speaker, I am this, I have won this, I am that, these are facts. It doesn't motivate people. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember this 5. The first thing is characters. Just like a movie, you need to have characters. At least one character could be you yourself. I experienced this, and then you know what happened. And circumstances are very important. Don't just say, I met a man who said this, and then I said that, then this happened, then that happened. No. You must tell people where it happened. In my case, I told you it was in a school. Then it was in a college. I didn't tell you the fact that it was the third part was in a hotel. I didn't say that it was in Shangri-La. But the point is that you must let people know where it happened. You get what I'm saying? For example, if I say I got up one day and I was so scared. Oh, really? Why? Huh? I ever told you that, you know what? One day we went camping with a few friends and we were right in the middle of the jungle. And it was around 3 or 4 o'clock. We heard some roaring noise. And I woke up and I saw the time was 3 o'clock. And you know what? I was damn scared. Now there's a totally different feeling you get, right? Now I tell you, I got up 3 o'clock, I got scared. So circumstances are very important. And the most important thing for any story to make it interesting is conflict. If no conflict, no story. In my case, the conflict was my villain, Mr. Ui, my history teacher and discipline master as well. You get what I'm saying? So, do you know every movie has conflict? Just like that. And then as we come back, you cannot say, ladies and gentlemen, I was a mumbling idiot, I'm still a mumbling idiot. That's not a story. You must have something to show that you have come out of it. This is called the pit and the breakthrough. That means your life is going on so smoothly, then there's a pit, you fall into the pit, and something happens and you come out, and now you are in a different place. That means you're better off than earlier. So that's what I mean by comeback. After the conflict causes the pit. You know what I'm saying? And then you have a breakthrough and then you must connect it back to the audience. If you're doing speaking or you want to convince people, even you're telling a story to somebody, you're trying to motivate your children. After you tell them the story, you say, you know what, Papa did this, you can as well. All you need to take this small step and try. And I'm there to support you. Or you are telling this to an audience. Tell them, what about you? I told you, right? I asked you a question. What about you? Maybe you want to write a book, you want to climb a mountain, you want to do this, whatever. You can do it, ladies and gentlemen. Remember these 3 words, action, cures, fear. That's all, very simple. So I connect it back to you. So this is called the 5 C's of storytelling. There are a few more C's which I have not put in here, but because of time, I've taken this out. But remember, these are the most essential C's of storytelling. And remember this as well, storytelling is not new. It started nearly 2,300 years ago when the Greeks are supposed to be the best storytellers the world has ever seen. And those days, no PowerPoint. And they motivate people by telling stories. And a hero can be you, can be someone else. And another thing is, as I said, you need to have a conflict, right? Hero plus obstacle really comes to conflict. And even cartoons have conflict. You all know this movie, right? Finding Nemo, yeah. And always have something dramatic when you talk about. Another thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to give a very powerful message, the greater the conflict, the stronger the message. You get what I'm saying? And you know something, if you look at the word message, the first 4 alphabets of message is mess. That means I was in a particular mess. I was in a terrible mess because of my teacher calling me mumbling idiot at a particular age. I was in a mess at a particular age, and that is the message. The message I want to get across to you comes from my mess at a particular age. And so because of that, I learned this. So ladies and gentlemen, so can you. Of course, your scene may not be so as dramatic as this, but it doesn't have to. And another thing is, when you tell a good story, I see immersing the people in your audience rather, you're immersing them into the story. They become part of the story. They're not an outsider. Like, right? When you watch a movie, you become the hero. You think that I'm James Bond, or I'm Rajinikanth, or I'm Kamal. I mean, you feel that way at least during the movies. So, ladies, let me end with this. When you want to learn to communicate with confidence, it's not about where you are right now. See, I told you where I was, right? I started off very, very at the bottom. I'm sure most of you, I think all of you are probably more confident than where I started. But it does not matter where we start. The question is whether you start. I started nearly 40 years ago. And today, I don't claim to be super successful, but I'm quite happy with my life. The way I communicate, the way I get along, my message across. And I've got standing ovation. I've got people ask me for autograph. Can you imagine? Autograph. I laugh when somebody asks me for an autograph. A few people ask me for autograph when I do a presentation. But that's not it. You see, the autograph and all is not the most important thing. But I have given, at one time I actually told the girl who came and said, "Sir, can I have an autograph?" I laughed at her and I said, "Hey, I'm not Rajinikanth, you know." The best part is, you know what? The mother was standing next to her and she told me, "Sir, why do you say that? My daughter has not gained anything from Rajinikanth." And those of you who don't know who Rajinikanth is, a very famous Indian actor. But she has gained so much from you from the whole of today. You have impacted her life. So she's out of respect. She's asking for autograph. Won't you give her? I really felt so bad. I said, "Come." I wrote a message and I signed my name. I said, "Here for you." The point is, you remember this. You never know who you can impact in their life by being a good communicator. So I hope I've shared something of value. If you have anything to ask me, you can always ask me. Any doubts, any questions, even you can disagree with me. And normally she asked for clarification, no problem. So no questions then? No. Do we have to be very proficient in language spoken in order to speak confidently? Not necessarily. Would you believe I have given one full presentation in Cantonese? A 20 minutes presentation, totally in Cantonese. My Cantonese is not very proficient, but I can hold a conversation. And I've done a speech, 20 minutes. You know what I did? I prepared, of course. And you know what's the topic of all things? How to, why I must learn English to a group of Form 1 kids in my hometown. I'm from Ipoh, actually. When I was in Ipoh, and of course now I'm in Kia. When I was there, if you know Ipoh, there's a place called Manglambu. The school's name is still called SMK Manglambu. The English teacher called me, and they know that I speak Cantonese, and he said, "Jay, can you come and give a talk to my students on the importance of learning English?" It's okay, but you must do it in Cantonese. They're like, "Oh." I said, "Why call me? Call a Chinese fellow to speak better." He said, No. The reason we want you to speak is because you know why? I want you to rub it into them that you didn't go to a Chinese school. I didn't go to Chinese school, by the way. That you can speak Cantonese just by listening and learning from your friends. I say, okay. And tell them in Cantonese why English is so important. So I stood there and I spoke. You know how I started? I said, if you know Cantonese, that means I'm a Cantonese person. And I got the attention for sure. You know, the kids were half awake. Like, huh? Sure, no, Cantonese. How come so dark? You know, I know that's the impact I'm going to have. And you know what I said? I know you're wondering I'm so dark, right? That's because too much of sun. But I was born Cantonese. And of course, I went and played with them. So the question is, Vidya, you don't have to be, as long as you are good enough. Okay. As long as you can get a message of, I've done presentation totally in Malay. My Malay is Bulila. It's not like my English, nor my Tamil. My Tamil is very good. My English is good. I came from English medium school. Okay, some people don't have that privilege, right? So I came from school that is English medium, everything. My history and science and geography, everything was in English. So I have an advantage, but that does not stop me from doing it in Bahasa. My Bahasa is I mean, but I still do. So it's not that. It is the points you want to get across, the message you want to get across, that is more important. Speak from the heart. So then I hope I answered your question. So I agree with you about the story method to communicate it. So you're talking about optimum duration of the story, is it, Normana? Are you asking me that?
Yeah, sir. No, just now you say I disagree. From the disagree, I agree with you.
Sure. I know, no, it's okay.
Yeah, on the story method, yes, I agree, because for me, I'm looking into the other context. So of
Oh,
course,
you have a question here. What is the optimum duration? You're
what
asking
is the
duration?
optimum duration? Optimum duration means how long it can go for one talk. Like, you know, if you give a topic, like you say that banking, okay. So how long you can engage to give the best engagement with the audience? How long?
It depends on what you're talking. Do you know I do programs when I speak? I have done from 9 in the morning to 10 at night. That's 13 hours in one day, and I do that for 4 days. So, and I've also given 5 minutes presentations as well.
Yeah, because people say when you do online, there
You're
is,
talking online, okay.
yeah, when you do online, there's certain duration that you should control, because the engagement, you know, the attention for a human being cannot be more than certain time, because there will be what they call for defocus. Example, for a young kids, the younger the kids, they only have like 10 to 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, they will do something.
See, it depends on you. Yeah, I started out my career teaching kids. In 1997, 98, I did my first public program for kids, 10 years old and above. And I did a full day workshop and they're sitting throughout. And even my online sessions for kids, nowadays, I do 3 hours. And parents call and tell me, I got one parent, I can get the testimony. She said, you know something, my boy has never responded in his school to teachers. The teachers complain, say, hey, your boy is smart, no, but kenapa dia tak cakap dalam kelas, ya? And in your session, he was like interacting with you like nobody's business. Man, how? So I don't know what you mean, how? So it's a matter, there's no such thing as, it's how engaging you are. Some people can be boring in 5 minutes, you know. Some people can go on engaging for hours. It's like a movie, right? You can watch some movies after 5 minutes. Ayo, aku nak keluar ni. Tak boleh tahan. Stupid movie. Maybe it's so badly taken. Some movies, you say, ayo, finish already. So fast. I say, hello, there's a 2.5 hours movie. Yes, sir. Oh, I didn't see the time passing. So no, there is no such thing. It's how engaging you are. But if you want to ask about the story, how was the duration? I would say 2 to 3 minutes stories. Because if you drag it too long, because people want you to come to the point straight. What is that you're trying to explain to me? What message you want to get across? But apart from that, let's say, okay, give me another example. You know how you make people not bored? You, like what I'm doing right now, because face-to-face would be much better. You give them activities to do, you question them, don't tell, ask. No, I got it?
Got it, yeah.
So it's a matter of how, I've said to, you know, you should share with you. I've gone to a presentation by Dr. John C. Maxwell. He is, in my opinion, the #1 leadership guru in the world. He didn't use a single PowerPoint slide, no. He didn't even write on the board. He sat there on a stool, a tall stool, you know, the bar stool. And he just sat there. And you know how he started his session? He was in PWTC, I still remember. He said, hi. Of course, his voice is I have a terrible voice. He's got a baritone voice, you know, he's like, he said, hi, I'm John. He didn't speak for that. Maybe about 5-10, he just surveyed the audience. He smiled. He said, "Hi, I'm John, and I'm your friend." You know something? He caught me that very sentence, and the smile was so captivating. Throughout the 2.5 hours of presenting, he presented. My mind did not waver. I didn't even go to the bathroom. I just sat down there, literally mesmerized by him. 2 hours presentation. He didn't move because he told story after story, and the stories are so meaningful. So, Normala, that's what it is. Any other questions? No? No
Not
questions?
from me. Thank you, sir.
Right, no. Anyone else want to ask me anything? So, if no other questions, then I will pass the control to. We have another session, which is actually a 2 days program, which is going to be a full program of 6 hours, which is happening soon. And I'll leave Yogan to give you all the details of that. So I hope you guys, okay, by the way, put in a yes if you guys found some value from this. Put in a yes, come on guys. Right. And before I pass it on to Yogan, I also I have someone here who's a very special friend of mine. He's become a very good friend now, but he was also my student. I would like Sarah. Sarah, can you just unmute yourself and just share 1 or 2 words about your experience of going through some of my.
Hi, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
For some reason, my video is not on, so never mind. I hope everyone can hear. So, my name is Saravanan. As Mr. Jaya said earlier, I'm a MC by profession, doing this for 25 years. Speaking with confidence, I would say, okay, not a problem. Of course, I knew Mr. Jaya back in December 2019, yeah. 2019, attended the HRD Corp Market Yourself as a Freelance Trainer course. I attended so many courses, under HRDF, the time HRDF, huh? And most of the trainers, they are good, they're very good, but they just cannot get your attention. When I went to Mr. Jaya's class, first, of course, I saw this trainer standing in front. I thought he's going to be another trainer like anyone else. But the moment he started the class, 5 days, I told myself, even 5 days is never enough, can never get enough of Mr. Jaya. He got so much of information, so much of knowledge to share. He is not like, how to say, kedekut lah, with all the knowledge he wants to share. And what I love so much about tonight's session, he spoke about communicate with confidence. He demonstrated exactly point to point about the topic. He was composed, he was relaxed, he was confident. Whatever question is like a shot at him, he knows how to answer. Amazing. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I'm surprised that you came. I didn't expect you here, but anyway, that's a pleasant surprise. Yeah. So thank you, Sarah. Yeah. Thanks. Yogan, all yours.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, sir. So thank you, everyone. Just a small sharing from my side. So what makes Omtera to do this added value class? Initially, when after my working time, so what I thought was initially, what makes us to be success is by working hard. Then after I joined Mr. Sarah's class, Mr. Jaya's class, and some other trainers class, what actually makes us a success is what value that we are investing on ourselves. When I started with Jaya's class, I went to the get paid to speak course. It was purely free. From that until now, I didn't ever miss any class that what Mr. Jaya did. Like what Mr. Sarah said, he is full of knowledge. And I mean, he shared a lot of stuff. He shared a lot of stuff. Not only few, how to share a story, how to be a confident, how to speak, how to sell of things, a lot. So in a way, I personally, Yogan, I learned and still learning a lot from Trainer Jaya. So that's where Omtera come up with a middle hub, why not we produce this to the rest of the people? So we will be doing a lot of classes, a lot of in-depth details, and in a frequent basis. So like what Mr. Jaya said, this particular communicate with confidence. This particular section will be run 2 days, probably by next week. I will notify each and everyone. So the date would be on 23rd and 24th. That would be overall of 7 hours class. 7 hours class. On 23rd, that would be like 3 hours. And 24th will be on 3 or 4 hours class. So yeah, so we'll be focused in depth on the communication with confidence. And like you notice, the trainer, Mr. Jaya, will cover in a wider range. It will talk about storytelling, how to become a confident in the overall sector. So I believe we'll be getting some participation as well. If you feel it's a valuable, it's investing for yourself, then I think this is the place for you. So anyways, thank you so much. And we believe today's section, it's a very...
Sorry, maybe you can, sorry to interrupt. Maybe you can ask them how many of them will be keen to join. Maybe they can put an I and then maybe easier to follow up with, or do you want them to join a WhatsApp group or something like that? Oh, I see Normala is raising her hand. So maybe you can put in the chat box who you are, you just put an I, and so we can, I'm sure you're going to be able to follow up with your, for the actual program, I mean. By the way, you didn't tell them the fee, because the fee is something that they might want to know, right?
So probably we are planning to charge 200 ringgit per pax. Correct, right, sir?
No, I thought you said 250, yeah? Was it, oh, you give a discount, is it?
200.
200, okay, fine. Okay. No, 200 for both the days, Sarah. That means the full cost is only 200. And since Omtara is doing for the first time, they are offering this as, sorry, they're offering this as a special rate. Sarah, you know, right? You know, Sarah knows my rate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 200 for 2 days is, please allow me to say this word, like it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's very cheap.
Actually, I don't like the word cheap. I like to use the word economical. People will say cheap means no good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, anyway. So, okay, guys. So, Jürgen, I think you probably will follow up with them, right?
Yes, I received a number of people who said yes. So I'll follow up with them and I'll add them in a group. So
sure. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming and having sat through this. And thanks, Jürgen, for organizing this. I really enjoyed myself. And thanks for your participation. Thanks for asking the questions and you know, interacting with me as much as you did. Okay, Sarah. I know you really usually always support me in so many ways. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming, and we hope to see you guys in the next session, because I will be covering a whole lot of things, and probably things that you may not find anywhere else. As you see, probably even today you might have found things that I've shared with you which might be different from what you ever heard before. Like, for example, the starting, how do you start a session, all of those things. So, okay, so then bye and have a safe evening, all of you, and keep, as they say right now, stay home. Now, I don't know, stay home already. You can go out now, right? But still, all of us have to be careful. Okay, then.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sure, Dato. You're most welcome.
Thank you, trainers and everyone.
Yeah, okay.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too as well.